Have you ever had a conversation that changed everything you believed about yourself? Tom Hanks had one. In 2015, he sat on a park bench next to a blind woman who had no idea who he was. What she told him over the next hour made him break down in tears. If you love discovering the untold stories behind Hollywood's greatest legends, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell because we uncover the hidden moments that reveal who these celebrities really are. September 22, 2015. Central Park, New York City. 2:30 p.m. Tom Hanks was in New York for press junkets. He had spent the morning doing interviews, answering the same questions he'd answered 1,000 times before. What's it like working with Steven Spielberg? How do you prepare for a role? What advice would you give to young actors? He was tired, not physically tired, soul tired. The kind of exhaustion that comes from being seen without being known. From being Tom Hanks the movie star instead of Tom Hanks the person. He needed air. He needed to be somewhere nobody would recognize him. So he put on a baseball cap and sunglasses, slipped away from his handlers, and walked to Central Park. He found a quiet bench near the reservoir and sat down. Just sat there, watching the water, trying to remember what it felt like to be anonymous. That's when she sat down next to him. She was maybe 70 years old, with silver hair pulled back in a simple bun. She carried a white cane and wore dark glasses. She moved carefully but confidently, like someone who had learned to navigate a world she couldn't see. She sat down on the opposite end of the bench and tilted her face toward the sun. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" she said. Tom was surprised she was talking to him. Then he realized she couldn't see him. She didn't know who he was. To her, he was just another stranger on a bench. "Yeah," he said, "it really is. I can feel the sun on my face. That's how I know, the warmth. The way the air smells different when the sun is out." She smiled. People think being blind means living in darkness. But there's still so much light if you know how to find it. Tom didn't know what to say, so he just listened. "My name is Eleanor," she said. "Eleanor Bishop. I've been sitting on this bench for 40 years. It's my favorite spot in the whole city." "I'm Tom. Nice to meet you." "Eleanor." "Tom. Good name. Simple. Honest." She turned her face slightly toward him. "You sound tired, Tom. Not sleepy tired, heavy tired, like you're carrying something." Tom was caught off guard. He wasn't used to people reading him so easily. "I'm fine. Just a long day." Eleanor laughed softly. "You don't have to lie to me. I can't see your face, but I can hear your voice. And your voice says you're not fine." Tom was quiet for a moment. Something about this woman, her directness, her gentleness, the fact that she had no idea who he was, made him want to be honest. "Can I ask you something, Eleanor?" "Of course." "How do you know who you are? When you can't see yourself in the mirror? When you can't see how other people look at you? How do you know who you really are?" Eleanor was quiet for a long moment. "That's a strange question, Tom. Most people ask me how I cross the street or how I read books. Nobody's ever asked me that." "You don't have to answer if you don't want to." "No, I want to. I'm just thinking." She turned her face back toward the sun. "I lost my sight when I was 32, car accident. One day, I could see everything. My husband's face, my children's smiles, the colors of autumn leaves. The next day, nothing. Just darkness. I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was a long time ago, and it taught me something important." She paused. "When you can see, you think that's who you are, what you look like, how others see you, the image in the mirror. You build your whole identity around it. But when that's taken away, you realize something." "What?" "That none of it was real. The image was never you. it was just light bouncing off skin. The real you, the you that thinks and feels and loves and fears, that's invisible. It always was, even to people who can see. Tom felt something shift in his chest. So, how do you know who you are now? I listen, Eleanor said. Not to what people say about me, but to what I say to myself. The voice in my head when I'm alone. The choices I make when nobody's watching. The way I treat people who can't do anything for me. That's who I am. The rest is just performance. Tom thought about his life, the interviews, the red carpets, the carefully crafted public image, the constant performance of being Tom Hanks. What if? He started, then stopped. What if what? What if you spent so long performing that you forgot who you really are underneath? Eleanor reached out and found his hand. Her touch was gentle, papery, warm. Then you have to get quiet, Tom. You have to sit still long enough to hear your own voice again. It's still there. It's always there. It's just hard to hear over all the noise. Tom felt tears forming in his eyes. He was grateful she couldn't see them. Can I tell you something, Eleanor? Something I don't tell people? Of course. Sometimes I feel like a fraud, like I've tricked everyone into thinking I'm something I'm not. Like one day they're all going to figure out that I'm just ordinary, just a regular person who got lucky. Eleanor squeezed his hand. Oh, Tom, don't you know? Everyone feels that way, everyone. The people who seem most confident, most successful, most certain, they're all terrified that someone will pull back the curtain and see the scared child hiding behind it. Even you? Especially me. Every day I walk out my door, I'm terrified. Terrified I'll trip, terrified I'll get lost, terrified someone will take advantage of my blindness. But I do it anyway, because that's what courage is. Not the absence of fear, but the decision to keep going despite it. They sat in silence for a while. The sun moved across the sky. People walked by, oblivious to the conversation happening on the bench. Tom, can I ask you something now? Sure. Why do you really care what I think? I'm just an old blind woman on a bench. My opinion shouldn't matter to someone like you. Tom smiled, even though she couldn't see it. What do you mean, someone like me? I may be blind, but I'm not deaf. Your voice sounds educated, confident underneath the tiredness. You speak like someone who's used to being listened to. You're somebody important, aren't you? Tom hesitated. For the first time in years, he didn't want to be recognized. Does it matter? Not to me. I'm just curious. But if you don't want to tell me, that's fine. I'm an actor, a pretty well-known one. Eleanor laughed, a genuine, delighted laugh. An actor. Oh, that explains everything. Actors are the most insecure people in the world. You spend your whole life pretending to be other people. No wonder you've forgotten who you are. Despite himself, Tom laughed too. I never thought about it that way. Well, now you have something to think about. Eleanor patted his hand and started to stand. I need to get home. My daughter worries if I'm out too long. Tom stood too. Can I walk you somewhere? That's very kind, but I know these paths better than I know my own apartment. 40 years of practice. She paused. Tom, whoever you are, whatever you've achieved, don't forget that you were someone before all of that. And you'll be someone after. The achievements, the recognition, the fame if you have it, that's not you, that's just noise. She started to walk away, then stopped. One more thing. You asked me how I know who I am. I forgot to tell you the most important part. What's that? I know who I am because of how I make other people feel. Not the big gestures, the small ones, the way I listen, the way I remember names, the way I say thank you and mean it. That's the real measure of a person, not what the world sees. What the heart does. She smiled once more and walked away, her cane tapping gently on the path. Tom watched her go. He stayed on that bench for another hour, thinking about everything she had said. He never told her his last name. She never asked. He was just Tom, a tired man on a bench who needed someone to remind him that he was more than his reflection. That night, Tom called his wife Rita. "I had the strangest conversation today, with a blind woman in Central Park." "What did you talk about?" "Everything. Nothing. Who we are when nobody's watching." "And who are you when nobody's watching?" Tom thought about it. "I'm still figuring that out, but I think I'm closer than I was this morning." Tom never saw Eleanor Bishop again. He went back to that bench a few times over the years, but she was never there. Maybe she had moved. Maybe she had passed away. He didn't know. But he never forgot her. He never forgot the woman who couldn't see his face but saw him more clearly than anyone had in years. He never forgot the lesson she taught him. That identity isn't about what people see when they look at you. It's about what's left when you close your eyes. Today, Tom Hanks keeps a pair of dark glasses in his desk drawer. Not the expensive sunglasses he wears to avoid paparazzi. A cheap pair he bought at a drugstore. Sometimes, when he's feeling lost, he puts them on and closes his eyes. He sits in the darkness and listens for his own voice. And somewhere in the silence he finds it. The voice that was there before the fame. The voice that will be there after. The voice that Eleanor helped him hear again.